Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conscious Business Connections, brought to you by the New York City chapter of Conscious Capitalism. My name is Bob Caparelli, and I'm joined today by Mitch Kahn of Unionwear, located in Newark, New Jersey. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You bet. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. So, Mitch, as you know, our program is dedicated to spreading the philosophy of conscious capitalism, and conscious capitalism believes that businesses can help elevate humanity by adopting conscious business practices or conscious business principles inside of their organizations. So the purpose of this show is to talk to companies like yours who have done exactly that, so that others can learn from those experiences and hopefully adopt some of those same practices inside of their own organizations. So really appreciate you being here. Why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about what Unionwear is, what your company does, and we can go from there.
Unionwear manufactures baseball hats and bags such as backpacks and tote bags, laptop bags, and messenger bags. We also make binders and portfolios. And for the last 6 weeks, we've been making hospital isolation gowns and face shields.
Oh, wow. That's
Started,
awesome.
Thanks. We started the business almost 30 years ago with 6 people. We manufactured baseball hats. We bought a bankrupt baseball hat factory and hired the workers who used to work there. We went live in 1992 with 6 workers who had a union contract before we started. That was one of the things I wanted to do, was start a union business.
Oh, wow.
And then we've grown every year since then. We now have about 180 employees. We hope to have all of them back soon. We have about over half of them back right now. And they are in Workers United Union. We have a great relationship with our union and have always worked together with them. And the PPE project that we have going on right now is the result of work that we did together with the labor union, because they're affiliated with the Healthcare Workers Union, SEIU, that represents the hospital workers in all over the country, but 1199 represents them in New York City.
Got it. That is so awesome. There's a lot there to go into. So let's talk about a few of those things. First of all, I want to I'm a product guy, right? And I'm also an avid collector of baseball hats. So just so that you know, so I'm super interested in that part of it, but I won't go too deep into it. But when you say that you manufacture baseball hats and those other things, you're actually manufacturing the hat, not just doing the embroidery and things like that. It's actually the manufacture of the product, right?
It's the complete 100% manufacture in USA of the product.
Awesome.
And the market is the made in USA market. We sell to people who specifically want union made in USA products. So for a long time, that was really just unions. That's why the name of the company was Unionwear.
Yeah.
But as costs in China started to go up, nonprofits started to say, hey, maybe we should spend a little more money and put our money where our mouth is and not buy from sweatshops.
Right.
And then domestic manufacturers who were selling their products as made in USA started saying the same thing. We're sending a mixed message if we're selling a Ford as made in USA, but our dealers are giving out baseball hats that are made in China.
Yeah.
As recently as about 10 years ago that the fashion industry actually came back and started looking at made in USA products. And now with what's going on, everyone's looking at made in USA products.
Isn't it something, right? It's really
Yeah.
amazing. But what's really great about this, and whether it's made here or there or whatever else, I think the key is not just making it in the lowest cost area, right? And thinking about the workers, thinking about people in your own backyard, which I think is an incredible philosophy. But I'm also interested in this idea of unions. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's not often that you hear about companies that want to embrace unions, right? However you feel about them is one thing, but usually you hear the opposite. So tell us a little bit more about that. Why the idea of embracing the union rather than what a lot of other companies are doing, which are saying, hey, we don't want unions.
So when I started the business, I was very young. I was 25 and I was idealistic, and I wanted to start a company where everyone who worked for the company had the same benefits as someone who worked in an office. I was working on Wall Street before then.
Yeah.
And the company that had gone out of business was a union shop. So when I started it, there was always the idea that they were going to come back and organize the workers that were there. And I looked into what it meant if they were organized, and said they were going to get health benefits, retirement benefits, higher wages than everybody else, paid time off. I thought, well, I'm going to give those people anyway. Why fight it? Why not go in and cooperate with them? So
Right.
that's what we did. They said it was the first time anyone ever did that, and it's probably the last time anyone ever did that. So We actually, when we started the business, the idea was to make baseball hats for the fashion industry, which in 1992 was actually not really a thing yet. It was still a
Right.
sporting. There was no Ralph Lauren hats. There were no hats in the Gap. And we were successful for a couple of years. And then everyone just started going over to Asia to have their products manufactured. We made hemp hats for about 5 or 6 years exclusively in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was the name of the company was Headcase Hemp Hats.
Oh,
And then as hemp started to lose its luster before it came back 15, 20 years later, we realized that the only people buying our hats were unions. That's when we changed the name to Unionwear. And then we started to expand a few years later into the political market, which is really a big part of our business now. We do a
no
lot of
kidding.
presidential campaign merchandise.
That is so cool. So this is an idea of the union is something that the employees wanted, right? Because they're getting benefits and things of that nature. And then it's something, as it turns out, that there's a market for as well. People that are your customers are also in unions and they're looking to buy union made products. So it just seems like it's a perfect fit. Now, the idea of the union piece of it, because I want to bring it back to some of the conscious business principles, which of course, taking care of your employees and meeting your employees where they live is a huge part of that, which seems absolutely what you've done. Certainly, there are companies that can kind of offer those same benefits without a union. Do you find that that's more difficult? Like, how does the union play into that as opposed to you doing that yourself?
Uh, Companies can certainly offer the same benefits that unions do. And as a matter of fact, all the things that I mentioned that unions offered since 92, when we started, almost all of them have been completely legislated
Mm.
into existence. The rising minimum wage has eaten away at the union premium. Everyone has healthcare benefits now if they have over 50 employees. There's mandated paid time off. So all of those things are there. The union has a benefit to us for a number of reasons. Number one, it gives us a single unit to negotiate with. Negotiating with 180 different people is very difficult.
Yeah.
Negotiating a union contract that's fair to everybody is actually much easier. And one other thing
Interesting.
that's not very widely known is that unions have become quietly low-cost delivery systems for company healthcare. Our union health plan is much less expensive than a plan with the same benefits that our office workers have that's non-union. There's that benefit as well. And then you mentioned the third benefit, which is the business that's there. It's not just the unions, it's the political business. It's a lot of banks and pension funds. We do a lot of meeting portfolios and binders and tote bags. And then government business, a lot of government business, not necessarily mandated that it's union made, but most government employees who purchase are union members. Most state and county and federal and city employees are union members, and they look favorably upon union manufacturers, union products, and that gives us a leg up in government business, which represents 30 to 40% of our work at any given time.
That is so cool. And I have to say, I'm not pro-union or anti-union. I have no position on it personally. But I'm really, really fascinated by the whole thing because what you're saying is that, instead of automatically looking at it like an us versus them, which I think is the way a lot of companies look at unions, in that way, you're looking at it like what benefits can they bring to the employees, what benefits can they bring to the company, and it seems like it's a real win-win for you. So it's really, really incredible and really great. You mentioned the fact that you have shifted some of your business towards making PPE. Now, of course, anybody who's watching currently knows the time that we're in. We're in the middle of this COVID quarantine crisis that has been going on for a couple of months now. Those of you who might be watching in the future, I'm sure you'll remember this time. But talk to us a little bit about how that transition happened and what you're doing in that area as well.
So, beginning of March, we were manufacturing baseball hats for every Democratic candidate for president, and that's all we were doing.
Wow.
We had so much business, and then one by one, they dropped out of the race very quickly, and then the coronavirus hit. So we went from being very busy to thinking, okay, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of business. There was the threat that schools were going to shut down. There was a threat that the conventions were going to be canceled. We do a ton of event merchandise. Events were going to be canceled and started to be canceled. So the first call I made was to the international head of the Workers United Union and said, hey, here's the story. We are in danger right now. We probably are going to have to send a lot of people home, and we don't really have a lot of business for when they come back to work.
Yeah.
You're affiliated with the hospital workers union, the healthcare workers union. Can you get us a meeting with the hospital associations to see what kind of things we can manufacture for them? This is like right in maybe March 20th or so, March 15th, sometime around then. Very quickly, like the next day, we were on the phone with the New York Hospital Association, and they already had products in mind. At that
Wow.
time, everyone was just talking about masks, but we couldn't make masks because sewn masks can't be used in hospitals. They have little holes in them from the needles.
Oh, okay.
So
Didn't
the
know that.
hospitals knew that, and they said, hey, we need someone to sew face shields, and we need someone to make hospital gowns, and this is what you need to make. And I looked at the face shields and I said, wow, I have one right here. There's foam in a face shield, which we use in backpack straps. There's clear vinyl, which we put on the cover of all of the binders that we make.
Oh,
And then
wow.
there's headbands, which we use in all of our baseball hats.
Very
Uh,
cool.
so we already had the materials, and we had supply chains set up for all these materials. So we weren't fumbling around looking for things. We knew what we might have known 30 people who had inventory instead of someone getting straight into the game who were just looking on Google and having to start from scratch. So
Yeah.
we were able to produce a prototype of a face shield within a day and start manufacturing the next day.
Wow.
We are now making about 10,000 a day, and we're about to ramp up to about 18,000 a day. Gowns, similar story, although we had never made gowns before. We had the machinery to do it. It took a little longer to get that up and running, but we're now making 3,000 gowns a day, and we're ramping up to 4,000 to 5,000 gowns a day. One thing that's made all this possible is we set up a network of home sewers because we're limited in the amount of people we can put in our facility safely right now.
Yeah.
We have about 40 of our workers now are working from home. They had home sewing machines. We developed the product and parts of the product that could be done on residential home sewing machines with the same efficacy as an industrial machine.
Wow.
And then when we needed more people, we put an ad on Facebook that we were hiring home sewers. The mayor's office of Newark, New Jersey blasted it out to their workforce development people, and we got hundreds of applications. So we now have people working from home on a piece rate, picking up boxes of work in a clean drop zone, dropping it off the next day. And that's very scalable. So as we get more face shield and gown business, if there's a bubble, we're not scared of it.
Unbelievable. And this is a perfect example of what we talk about when we say business can help elevate humanity, right? A lot of people get confused with conscious capitalism. Part of the word is capitalism. We're not saying that businesses can't make money as they're elevating humanity. In fact, they should be. But at the end of the day, they can still be doing good. And it sounds like what you've done is taken an incredible relationship that you have with the union, with your employees, and you've transferred that into being able to make something that's helping the world and keeping people employed. I mean, how could it be better than that? There's really got to be a lot of complexities, though, to running a business that was in a plant to now running this from 40 different homes or whatever else. Tell us a little bit about those challenges.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we're probably the perfect size business to be able to do this. We've also been cloud-based. All of our IT has been cloud-based for a while. So we were able to send half of our office home and work from home without skipping a beat.
Yeah.
And we have regular online meetings where we discuss these issues, and we use every single piece of tech available to us for project management. And there's a ton of troubleshooting. I wish I had it here. I was working from home yesterday, and we had an issue with hoisting up. Fabric came in 1,000 pounds heavier than we expected it to.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the graphic design software, and I drew a picture of how to hang the hoist with crayons from my daughter's room, and it actually worked. So, but every single day. It's like that scene in Apollo 13 where they have to figure out how to get the astronauts home, and all they have are these couple of paper clips and a binder clip and a hose, and we figure out how do we get what we need with what we have. Now, one benefit is that we manufacture. So we make things. When we wanted to bring more people back from work, we can make desk shields. We can make the face shields. We can make the masks. We can make the gowns. And we can make all that stuff and barter with medical and cleaning distribution people who have the other products who need our products.
Yeah.
So it's just every morning we wake up and say, all right, today's going to be totally different than yesterday. It's going to be a little exciting. It's going to be extremely challenging. Let's make it happen.
It's so incredible. Now I have to ask you, after this crisis ends, which, it will end eventually, you found yourself now in a completely different market, right? I mean, and you go from making baseball hats for a certain demographic to now making, medical supplies for a completely different market, completely different customers. How do you think that might change the face of your business? Do you expect that you're going to go back to making baseball hats and say, well, that was a great run? Or do you think that this is now a new market that's opened up for you that you might continue in?
We absolutely are going back to our original business,
Yeah.
um, and keeping the PPE business. So first, I'll talk about the original business. There is going to be a vastly increased demand for made in USA products,
Agreed.
both because of the cachet, the new cachet that made in USA has, and the importance that it has. And also because you're not going to be able to get what you used to be able to get from other places. And we're in a B2B business. That's our big selling pitch is you want to put your co-branding the giveaway products that your company has or the fashion products that your company has with the sourcing label.
Yeah.
Remember that. So do you want your brand next to Made in USA or do you want your brand next to Made in China?
Hmm.
People are going to be asking themselves that more now. So we're going to see an increase in that. At the same time, we were very deliberate in the products that we chose and designed with the hospital association. So one thing that we recognized immediately after calling a few hospitals was they were used to buying disposable products. Now, disposable and made in USA do not work together because the labor is too much here. You don't
Oh,
want to
right, right, yeah.
and have people throw something away. When you don't pay people anything, you can afford to throw it away. Well, guess what? Their products that they manufacture over there become our pollution over here.
Mm.
So we wanted to make something that on a per use basis was less expensive with the disposable stuff that was coming in from overseas. So we came up with a reusable gown that could be washed at very high heat and could still keep its water barrier penetration intact. And we came up with a reusable face shield where the clear shield could actually be removed from the headpiece here
Oh, look at that.
and replaced. And it's actually much less expensive both of them are much less expensive on a per unit basis than the hospitals were paying before. So by sticking to those and not going and trying to compete head on with something, there's going to be a tidal wave of masks and things coming in from China. Masks should be disposable, particularly the surgical ones. But by not going at that and looking at what's a sustainable business, we'll be able to grow our business. We have the space, we have access to people, and we definitely have the will to make that happen.
It is so cool though. And again, a great example because this is an idea how, by doing the right thing, you can open up new markets and open up new ideas and products. I mean, it's absolutely right that there's a sustainability component to this, right? I mean, we shouldn't be making all this stuff that's going into the landfill, and you can figure out a way to say, hey, we have more expensive labor, but how can we leverage that and make a product that you don't have to throw away? And there you go, elevating humanity. So it's just an incredible, incredible story. Really good. So before we let you go, I want to ask if you were going to give advice to another company who's trying to adopt some conscious business practices, what would that be? How would you think that someone else should go about doing something similar to what you've done?
Well, first of all, I would say that when you have happy workers, they stay with you longer. And a veteran employee is always going to outperform new employees that you churn and spend money on training and then leave for slightly higher money. Also, if you create an atmosphere where people want to come to work and where people feel like they're family with the people that they work with, they're not going to be looking for other jobs. Turnover is very expensive in manufacturing, and it's a very big problem in manufacturing. Same with absenteeism.
Yeah.
So by spending a little more to avoid those problems, you make your money back and then some. I actually didn't really set out to have a conscious company. I never thought that I was going to use that as a way to market my business. I just did what I felt was right and treated people the way that I wanted to be treated. And just, it made sense that that was going to be a sustainable way to start a business that was going to last forever.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
It's so cool. And I love that too, because a lot of people do get confused with this whole conscious movement and so forth. They kind of pigeonhole it into maybe, saving the earth or things of that nature, but it's so much more than that. And it's really just about what you said, right? If you pay attention to your employees, you pay attention to people's well-being, that's going to reward you, as opposed to just looking at profit, right? And saying all I'm out for is to make profit, go to the lowest cost labor, the lowest cost bidder, whatever else. Those things don't help you in the long run. It doesn't help the world in the long run. So it really, really is a great example. So amazing. And just really thank you for having us on the show. So before we let you go, I do want to make sure that you have a chance to tell people how they can find out more about Unionwear. If they want to learn more about your company, where could they go?
Sure. So we have a website at unionwear.com. Facebook page is Unionwear USA. And we've just started selling our reusable shield at roughshield.com, which is reusable universal face shield.com.
No kidding. Can anybody buy them, by the way, or is it only
Yes.
so like
Yes.
I could go out and buy a face shield if I wanted to?
You could buy one face shield if you wanted to.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I might actually just look into that. For what reason I don't know, but I might. So so that's awesome. Well, Mitch, thank you once again for being a guest. This has been an awesome conversation. I hope people have learned a lot from it. I know that I have. Before we let you, the audience, go, I want to make sure that I give a shout out to the sponsors of the New York City chapter of Conscious Capitalism. So we'd like to thank the Core Club and the Tomiak Foundation, both of whom sponsor our chapter and both of whom make programs like this possible. So we thank both of you. And of course, we want to thank you, the audience, for joining us. Hopefully you found some value in this, and hopefully you will join us again. If you have found value, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel so other people can find it as well. And with all that said, we'll see you back here on another episode of Conscious Business Connections. Thanks for joining.